Welcome to the Communication Diva Podcast, Episode 84. After a bit of a hiatus from this podcast, while the Communication Diva was finishing a master's degree, winding up one of her 2 jobs in preparation for a year-long sabbatical, negotiating an increase from 1/3 to 1/2 time in her second job, and completing one of the several web-based projects she's had on the back burner for some time now, Jen Swanson is re-entering the world of podcasting with an episode on simplifying, slowing down, and being more balanced. Oh yeah, and that web-based project I mentioned, it's a 5-part audio series designed to increase your effectiveness as a public speaker called Public Speaking Success, the Communication Diva's Guide to Presenting with Confidence. Public Speaking Success is not sold in stores. Listening to the Public Speaking Success audio series, extremely high volume, may result in hearing damage or loss. Do not listen to this audio product with headphones or while operating a motor vehicle. This audio product is suitable for all diets and is fat-free, gluten-free, sugar-free, sodium-free, nut-free, dairy-free, animal testing-free, but not free, and meets the highest vegan, kosher, and halal standards. Satisfaction guaranteed, your money refunded. Well, probably not the last part, but it never hurts to ask.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Communication Diva Podcast. I'm Jen Swanson and I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to be with me to explore the wild world of communication. Most, if not all, of the conflicts that arise in our lives happen because of ineffective or poor communication. Something that could have been said in a different way, something that could have been communicated that wasn't, or something that could have been kept quiet that maybe wasn't. All of these things, almost in every case, have to do with communication breakdown somewhere along the line. It's pretty stunning if you think about it. Upset is happening, conflict and breakdown of relationship, personal and workplace relationships, and most often it's a communication issue that's at the root of the conflict. So my passion is to connect you with people who communicate their passions well, to talk about ways in which we can all improve our relationships with each other, and to somehow help to make this world a little more gentle. So that is my mission and my passion in life, and I am really glad that you are here along for this ride. One of the things that has been incredible for me in all of this, and that has helped me to turn my passion into a business that reaches across the globe, is what you're listening to right now, a podcast. And I absolutely knew nothing about podcasting 3 years ago until I stumbled across a person who has been one of the biggest influences in my business life and in my other life in other ways. Someone who has taught me all about podcasting and more, and that is my friend Cliff Ravenscraft, the podcast answer man himself. Now, Cliff has been podcasting since podcasting began back in the 1990s, I believe, and he is, I could be wrong about that date, but it is since the beginning, and he really is a wealth of information on the topic. He was a guest here on the first anniversary edition of the Communication Diva podcast, episode 50. So if you want to hear him share his love of podcasting with us there in that conversation that happened a little while ago, you can go to communicationdiva.com/ and then the number 50, and that will take you right to his episode. Anyhow, the reason I'm telling you all of this is because I love podcasting, and I really think that a lot of people have a lot of things that they could be sharing through this medium, including their stories and their lives. And Cliff has very generously offered the Communication Diva community a discount on his podcasting A to Z course that he runs. And so if you come over to the Communication Diva website, to the show notes for this episode, enter the promo code DIVA, all small letters, you will receive a $500 discount. For his 4-week, intense, packed, amazing program. If you've ever thought about sharing your passion or your story or your communication with the world through this medium that you're listening to right now, this course can teach you everything that you need to know. So I will post that on the site, and I really thank Cliff for this wonderful opportunity for the Communication Diva community to take advantage of. All right, so it's been a while since the last episode, and part of that is that I was finishing up school, and I'm happy to announce that I graduate with a Master of Arts in Public and Pastoral Leadership next week. That's very exciting. I never thought I'd make it here, but here I am, and I must admit that I have a real sense of accomplishment. I've worked at it very slowly and very steadily over the past 7 years. I've maintained focus. Almost gave up a couple times, but haven't. And, I was working 2 day jobs and raising a family, and, I'm not a spring chicken. I'm 46, and I am really glad to be done with the homework. So I'm very excited to be walking across to the podium next on Monday and receiving my degree. And I'm very happy about that. I will tell you about my other very exciting project at the end of this episode, and I will share a promo code with you there that will offer you a discount on what I think is a very valuable resource and what would make a really great gift too. So stay tuned for that. But for now, let's move right into today's topic. And today's topic is busy, the new 4-letter word. For years and years and years and years, I thought being busy was a good thing. I thought that when people asked how I was and I answered busy, that was showing how active and how productive I was being. And while I still believe that it's good to have things to work on and to be engaged in life in meaningful ways, I definitely believe that there's such a thing as being too busy and busy overload. And really, that's not cool. That's not okay anymore. If I sound a little stuffed up and throaty, it's because I'm recovering from a cold here. And I hope I'm not losing my voice as I do this. But again, overloaded, right? Busy. I've been going. And then as soon as I stop, I suddenly get sick. So there you have it. I found that this past fall, I was so stretched to the limit and so overloaded that I could barely figure out who I was each day, what role I was in. I'm a college teacher. I'm a minister. I'm a student. I'm a student minister about to graduate. I'm a mom. I'm a stepmom. I'm a wife. All these other roles. And I could barely figure out which direction to point my car in each day. Like, who am I today and what am I supposed to be doing? And if it wasn't for a strong commitment to exercising on a regular basis, as regular a basis as possible, for de-stressing and sanity-keeping purposes, I think I might have gotten really, really sick, which isn't a good thing. If it wasn't for a very supportive spouse and family, I would not have survived it. And I really mean that. So I'm really, really grateful, especially to Scott. He made food, he, cleaned up, he did everything on top of working more than a full-time job himself. So it was really crazy while I was trying to write those heavy, big papers and stuff. So I really, really appreciate that support. So how does a person get to this place in the first place? This ridiculously busy place where you can't make a move without checking the calendar, where you fall into bed in an almost comatose condition at night, sometimes with about 4 or 5 hours to sleep. What on earth drives us to this level of busy? I mean, maybe this is a North American thing, and it's not good, really. So I've got 6 things here that I want to look at that I think are part of this. So the first one is that sense of needing to meet all of my commitments, and commitments that are set for me by either the expectations of others or set for me by me. So that's number one, is needing to meet the commitments and dealing with all the expectations, my own and the expectations that other people have of me. The second one is thinking that it all has to happen at once, right? Now, fast. The third one is the trouble with saying no. Like, how do I say no, right? I'm getting better at that, but I want to look at that. Number 4 sort of goes with number 3. It's the guilt. What happens? How do I deal with the guilt if I do say no? Then there's number 5, which is being all things to all people, right? Needing to feel like I'm going to be all things to all people. And then number 6 is I'm wondering how, even in the last 7 years, technology has had an impact on how much we expect of ourselves and of others. So I want to look at those 6 things in this episode and just, I don't know if I have any answers, but I want to take a look. I want to look at those 6 areas that contributed to me almost spontaneously combusting or really just plain collapsing, and why I really don't ever want to go back there again. So let's talk about the first one, commitments and expectations around those. I'm one of those people who likes to finish what she starts. If I say I'm going to do something, then I try my absolute utmost best to do it if it's at all possible. That doesn't always work. As you will know if you are signed up for my email list, and I hope you are, and you are wondering where my emails to you have been the past several months, so much for sending you monthly updates. I have not been doing that. I've also not been podcasting every week like I used to. And for the most part, that was self-preservation because I had to let something go or I was going to collapse, right? For the most part, I try to stick to things that I say that I'm going to do. But sometimes, even when sticking to things that I have to do, sometimes it means I'm suffering for it. I know that this stems from wanting to be liked by others, from wanting to be seen to be efficient and capable and an achiever. All of these things contribute. I'm on the Myers-Briggs, I'm trying to remember what the letters are, ENFP, I think. I would have to double check that. I can't remember. But what it is it's the extrovert and the achiever. I'm a firstborn child. And if you're familiar at all with that, then that comes with that. What comes with that sometimes is the expectation that you must succeed, right? If you are familiar at all with the Enneagram, I am a number 1 on the Enneagram, meaning that I make lists and seek to accomplish. There's a lot more that goes along with it, but boy, am I a number 1. And the only problem with that is my list never ends. It's a perpetual list. The things I want to accomplish are many, and I have accomplished many, but there never seems to be enough time in the day to get all of the things that I want to do done, ever. I know that in my many roles, podcaster, coach, partner, all those things I listed before, there are things that others expect of me, and I try to meet these, even though it's really not always realistic. Then there are the expectations I put on myself. Today I could have done a number of things, but I spent a good part of the afternoon baking muffins and cleaning the kitchen and making dinner, right? Nice. Yes. Necessary? Well, kind of. What was the expectation? Well, for me, it was that the kids had some nice smells to come home to after school. It was very homey, that there were grab and go healthy snacks made for the rest of the week. I'm not working as much now, so I should be doing domestic work. And there it is, right? Aha. There's the key thing. Did you hear me say the word should? I was told once that the word should means that you're living by someone else's value system, someone else's expectations. So I'm not working as much right now, so I should be doing more of the housework, more of the taking care of everybody, making food, all of that kind of stuff, right? Who says that I should? Right? Does society say that? Does my family say that? Who else? Whose value system says I should be doing more domestic stuff right now instead of working on my business? Why couldn't I have just thrown something store-bought into the oven and maybe bought muffins? Well, I can answer that one, and this comes down to my own expectations. My value system and my partner's value system include trying to eat better food. And by better, we mean better for our bodies and better for the planet. So we cook from scratch almost all the time, unless we are desperately in a hurry and open a tin of spaghetti sauce or something. But we try really hard to home cook our food, unless we're going out for dinner, which we do sometimes. We shop as locally as possible. We avoid packaged foods and instant anything. We try to make fresh and healthy food for our family. And so tonight I made, what we call a chef salad, which is different every time, but it involves things like lettuce, broccoli, apples, chopped hard-boiled eggs, dried cranberries, pumpkin and hemp seeds. I cut up some Monterey Jack cheese, and if we are really feeling like we're splurging, we throw in some bacon bits that we make. The kids adore this salad, and it's really healthy and good for them. So as part of my own expectations and value system, this is one that I'm really not going to bend on, at least not most of the time. I mean, yes, of course, sometimes we go out for burgers and fries, but most of the time we try and have good food and good food practices, which are a huge value for us. And so I do have high expectations around that. And let's face it, cooking takes up a lot of time every day, as does cleaning up after you cook. So that's what I was busy doing. So what do I do about that? What do I do about those kinds of expectations? Well, there are some expectations, especially those of others and sometimes my own, that just I think have to be set down or at least delayed for a while. I think that I have to let go of some of the things that I think have to happen today and say, you know what? That can wait. That can happen tomorrow. Or it doesn't even matter if that doesn't happen until Friday. Nobody's going to die. It's not the end of the world if I don't do X until later. I remember the enormous relief it used to be when I was a teenager, when I had run myself down to the point of being sick, because this is years and years of practice doing this. And my mom used to put her foot down and say, that's it. You're going to bed and you're not going anywhere. And you know what? She could boss me around when I was a teenager. She's allowed to. Mostly she was right. And I would feel this sense of huge relief. Well, I can't do it. I'm sorry. I haven't, I'm sick. I'm not able to come to your X, Y, and Z, whatever it was I was supposed to be doing. It was a really excellent excuse. And so I would feel this sense of relief because I had an excuse. People would understand. It was easy to say, I'm not allowed to, my mom won't let me, or I'm too sick, I'm going to infect everybody. It was only really rotten when I was missing something I really, really wanted to do, but mostly it felt really good to just stop. And I have found that as I get older, the body is telling me more often and is getting better at telling me when the time is nearing to just stop. Do you know what I mean? Can you tell when you are just doing too much? Do you know your own body's warning signs? Because it took me a long time to know them. So I just wonder how good you are at paying attention to the signs of your body saying, okay, that's enough. You need more sleep, or you need more water, or you need, to rest, or you're too stressed. So I'm paying attention to more of those signs. And one of my plans is to let go of some of the expectations I have around doing everything and to really try to live a more balanced life. And I know that's a cliche now, but it is still a truism. I have embraced that 4-letter word busy, and it's time to come out from under its enticing clutches and to reclaim some calm and to just relax some of the expectations and some of those things that for some reason I have held on to so tightly. This kind of segues into the second thing, number 2, of thinking it all has to happen at once, right? Who says, is my question again. Will anyone really notice if I do something tomorrow instead of today? Well, of course, depending on what it is, yes, they might. But there are some things on my list that are far more important than others, and some that have deadlines that are non-negotiable. So learning to prioritize more thoroughly is a good thing, and realizing that I don't have to be Superwoman. Nobody's standing there evaluating me with a checklist, right? Most people don't live this way. At least that's the impression I get when so often people say to me, I don't know how you do all that you do, Jen. How on earth do you do everything? And my new answer, my old answer used to be proud, right? Oh, I was proud that somebody was amazed that I was doing all this stuff. And my new answer is neither do I, and it's not a good thing. And honestly, I've said that more often in the past several months than I've ever said it before. And it kind of gets a weird look, right? Because a lot of it is self-imposed. So does it really have to all happen at once? Really? Or can I move things on my list around to make it more manageable? Can I decide to do 4 or 5 things today instead of 15 and still feel like I had a worthwhile day? Can I lower my own expectations around accomplishing tasks? Is anyone going to drop dead if I don't answer an email the same day I get it? Is anybody even going to notice? Right? So those are some questions that I am asking myself now when the old reels come up, the old loops come up around, you got to do this, you got to do this. It's really, do I really got to do this today? Really? So I'm trying to ask myself those questions. All right, number 3 and number 4 kind of go together, saying no and the guilt that comes with saying no. Well, it could be that it's maturity. It could be that it's assertiveness. It could be that it's settling into myself a little more. I'm not sure. But I am getting so much better at saying no and at not feeling guilty. Saying no to things I really don't want to spend my precious time doing. Like those sales item makeup or candle parties, you know, those that people invite you to, and they invite you because they want you to buy stuff so that they can earn stuff. And you know, I have nothing against network marketing or any of that kind of stuff. I used to sell all sorts of stuff myself and have those very same parties. But really, I don't like them. And I don't want to waste my whole evening going to one of these things that I can't afford to spend money at anyway, and that I'm not interested in. So I don't go to those anymore. It's like those long music-backed inspirational emails that you get that say at the end, you must forward this to your 15 closest friends within the next 20 minutes. You know, I don't want to look at those anymore. Ever. I have so many more worthwhile things I'd like to be doing than spending my time on stuff that bugs me. So I don't feel guilty anymore saying a pleasant, no thanks, I'm busy, to the sales type parties, or emailing people who send me those chain emails and saying, I don't do these things. Thanks for thinking of me though. You know, I'd rather spend that time listening to a podcast that I enjoy, or going out for a walk or something. Or hanging out with friends who, aren't expecting me to do anything. Just hang out and be me. So it's those things are easier for me now, I think. The harder no's to say are those that are tied to things that I'd like to do, that I want to do, or that I set my own values and expectations around. So these are things that I need to get better at saying no to. A good friend of mine said one year that he was making his spiritual practice to be the practice of saying no even to fun things in order to give himself an inner peace and a space for God to enter in. So his practice was going to be keeping white space in his calendar and keeping a balance in his life. I haven't asked him how he did with that, but I should one of these days. But, you know, it's saying no even to fun things that can be really hard. So I'm going to try not to overbook my life when at all possible, at least while I'm on this year-long teaching sabbatical, this break from teaching in the college, so that I can pursue Communication Diva and other things. I want to see if I can free up some space to garden and to read some fun books, to meditate, to cook because I love it, not because I have to, you know? So those are some of the things I'm hoping to do. We'll see how that all goes, right? Okay, number 5 is being all things to all people. This one is about boundaries and setting good ones. And this relates back to other people's expectations of me too. Who is expecting me to do what? Who's counting on me? Of course, there are things that I have to do and things that I want to do and things that I need to be somewhere for. And don't get me wrong about those. There are obligations that you must fulfill. But what about the times where I have to say something like, I can't do that today, but I could do it by Wednesday, for example? What about saying, I already have a very full day. How about we choose another day to do that? It's those kinds of things that I'm going to be paying attention to. With kids, that's a challenge. With the jobs I have, that isn't always going to work. You know, if someone ends up in a hospital, as a church minister, I have to go if I at all possibly can go and be at that person's bedside. But I'm talking about non-urgent things. So if you can't help out every single month at the hot lunch program at school, is that going to be the end of the world? Maybe you go every second month, right? What happens if you turn down a social function because you really just want to stay in your pajamas and snuggle up with your honey and watch movies on Netflix or something? Is that so bad? Where is the letter I in the word busy, right? It's not there. I need more me time. And by that, I don't mean just alone time, but that would be nice. But I mean time doing things that I want to be doing, not fulfilling the expectations of others, not being all things to all people. And that's going to take some practice, I think. I'm going to need to remind myself of my desire for Zen a little more often, and I'm going to have to practice, as I said before, letting go of some of these expectations. All right, the last one, number 6, has to do with technology and my wonderings about constant connection and accessibility. Do I really have to know every few minutes if I have another email or how many listeners have tuned into the podcast or have checked out the website? I don't know. Do I? Does it do me any good to look at that and look at those numbers several times during a day? Not really. It's interesting. I'm always watching and always interested in case somebody's sent me something. But is it necessary? I don't know. There was a really funny image going around. I can't remember if it was LinkedIn or Twitter. That was the pyramid drawing of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You probably have heard of this before. The idea that people have to begin at the bottom of the pyramid and they cannot move up to the next level of the pyramid until the level below it has been satisfied. So the bottom level is things like physical needs, food, water, shelter. Those things have to be satisfied before you can go up to the next level, the next several levels, to things like feeling needed and belonging, having friends. It carries on and being loved, love and belonging needs. It goes up. And the image that was going around on the internet had a new level drawn under the bottom level, the physical level, that had written in it the word Wi-Fi. Now, I did laugh. It was funny in a twisted kind of way that Wi-Fi would be the basis of all human needs, right? And it was funny. And then, I was thinking it kind of isn't funny in a way, too. Coincidentally, I was driving around in my car today and I heard a conversation on our Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, CBC Radio, about installing Wi-Fi in provincial campgrounds. And I was thinking, really? And it was a debate on the radio and people were phoning in saying, really, you should be out in nature, enjoying nature. And, and other people are saying, oh, but, then you can meet up if you want to go for a hike and, all this stuff. And, I wonder, do we really need to be so digitally connected and so socially and, disconnected and so disconnected with the world around us because our faces are always in looking at a screen? Are we inventing expectations that make us even more busy, that clutter up our days with more things? I am supremely guilty of checking my phone repeatedly. What on earth did I do 10 years ago before I had a phone with email on it? I can't even remember. But what has happened and why is there this compulsion to communicate, if that's what you can call it, constantly with everybody all the time? Why are we always accessible? Why are we always connected? And how is that serving us? And I don't have a clear answer for that. These are my wonderings. I just felt like sharing my thoughts on being busy with you today. And I hope that you might have some ideas to share, that you might have some suggestions and thoughts on this topic too, that you would share. You come over and at the bottom of the page where the show notes are, is a little box that has the word comments in it. If you click on that, you can add your comments. Because I really don't want to go back there. I don't want to go back to that insanity of being so busy, really. And so I would love to hear your thoughts on this. These are my musings and what kinds of things I'm going to try and do in the next little while. All right, so before I press the stop button, I wanted to share with you something that has been brewing for a while, but that I was too busy to do. And this is my very first product. I have spent a lot of time crafting this and creating it, and I'm really excited about it. Now, all of the podcasts that I've done so far, I've done 84 or so, including this one, are totally free without cost. And my hope is that you've received a lot of value from them. There are many, 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 many hours of topics and conversation and tips and advice from all sorts of people. And so now what I'm doing is hoping to add even more value to your life with my digital product called Public Speaking Success, the Communication Diva's Guide to Presenting with Confidence. Now, I know a lot of people have a fear of standing up in front of any size of crowd and speaking. It might be a toast at a wedding. It might be a presentation at a business meeting. It might be standing up in front of a larger crowd and having to make a speech. It might be at a funeral or something. And a lot of people are terrified or at least very anxious about doing this and doing it well. So what I've created is a 5-part audio series that will help you to create and present with success before an audience of any size. It is a jam-packed audio downloadable series that is nearly 3 hours long. It's 2 hours and 48 minutes. And honestly, it is full of tips and ideas and information. I've also included a bonus NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming exercise at the end of track 4, and this is to help you practice building what's called your circle of excellence. And it's a practice that will take a few times listening to it before you fully develop your circle of excellence. But that is something that many presenters and speakers do use before going out into the public realm. So I've added that in there for you. This series would be the equivalent of being in a workshop with me for an entire morning, learning all the ins and outs and tips and tricks of not appearing nervous even when you are, of where the heck do you stand depending on the size of the room, what do you do with your hands, how to work with a screen and all that you need to put on a screen if you use a screen. And there's a whole section on how to prevent problems and on what to do if something does go wrong. I have a lot of years of community theater experience. I'm now in front of classrooms and congregations on a weekly basis in speaking in public. And I've been a guest speaker at the 140 EDU Educational Conference in New York City a couple of years ago. And I was also a guest speaker at the New Media Expo conference in Las Vegas. And so as a result, I wanted to share my experiences and my mistakes with you in order that you might succeed. So this series even makes a really great gift if you have someone in your life who has to make a presentation. So I hope you'll take the time to check it out. And as my Diva listener, I have a special promo code for the very first 45 listeners who purchase the series using the code Diva Digest. It's all in small letters, 2 words, Diva Digest, and you'll receive $25 off this product. So if you can go to communicationdiva.com/products and click on the link, and you can see the page and you can enter the promo code and receive your discount. You can download this series of 5 sessions directly to whatever device it is that you are listening to me on right now. So there you have it. That's all I have for you today. I really do appreciate you listening. I hope that you share your thoughts on how to better communicate and how to slow down with me and with the Diva community after the show is over. I am Jen Swanson. I think I'm going to go take some vitamin C right now. And until next time, take good care.